So I wanted to spin out a couple of videos on kind of the technology and such of doing the whole YouTube thing. Like how do I do the channel, tech items and things, right, do I use to make the content and create the content and everything that kind of goes into the behind the scenes operation of this. So let's talk all about that. So as of recording this, I've been doing this YouTube thing for, geez, roughly like about 10 months or so. You know, it took me about 8 months to hit the 1,000 subs in the final monetization element that I needed to get to. And over that time, up till now, I've kind of learned, I think, quite a bit. I think I've hopefully gotten better at it overall. And, you know, if you look back at the earliest videos on the channels to now, there's quite a bit of difference, both in terms of like where I'm recording and how I'm recording, how I'm speaking, and other things like that. So I kind of wanted to break down a bunch of stuff. If somebody's watching and you're thinking about doing a YouTube channel, kind of what tech, what items, you know, what's the structure of essentially what I've done to, I think, be on a pretty good path and a pretty good track with this. So, I mean, you want to make videos, right, for YouTube. Of course, you have to record videos. So I do this a couple of different ways, and I started with just my phone. This is my iPhone 13 Pro Max. Back when I started the channel, I had like an 11 or whatever. Cameras on these are really, really good. And so to get started, that's what I was using. And I picked up a cheap tripod off of Amazon. I want to say this thing was like 20 bucks. Extendable legs, right? So you can get kind of to different heights. You can move around, tilt, and pan. And it has the nice little phone adapter that just screws right in there. So a lot of the bulk of the earlier videos on the channel were all just done with the cell phone. I started too with the cell phone mic and found very quickly though that unless you're very, very near field, that's not great. And so that's where I kind of started adding some other stuff to my path. So I'm going to flip these around and talk about what I do the bulk of my recording with now. So here is what I really use for the majority of the videos on the channel now. Along the way, some months ago now actually, I bought this camera after doing a variety of research. That's a Sony ZV-1. There's actually a newer model of it, but they specifically made and market and sell that as a vlogging type of camera. And I also picked myself up another tripod here. UB Size was the brand on Amazon. I think this one was a little more expensive, like 36 bucks, but it's got kind of these more dynamic feet. There's 4 extensions instead of 3, so I can get taller. It's got some nice foam padding, so it's a little easier to hold, built-in levels and all of that. And so I found that I do switch cameras and stuff a bit, and so and it was really a pain to take the thing off and put the other camera on. You have to unscrew and screw in these adapters. So now I pretty much just leave this camera on this tripod, and then I have the other one dedicated to my phone. It's much easier to just kind of snap the phone in and out. And for certain things, certain types of shots, I will switch back and forth between the different cameras. But the ZV-1 has so much more features and capabilities. I'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing I added was the microphone here. So this mic is what's called a Rode Video Micro Compact on-camera microphone with a shock mount. So it's a positional microphone. It was a little more expensive, about 50 bucks. I did for a little while use what they call like a lavalier style microphone where I would clip it onto my shirt. That was when I was kind of like sitting in front of the TV and kind of trying to use that as a little bit of a studio. But I would run the wire up kind of behind my clothes and I'd clip it right here. That was a total pain, being physically connected to the mic and particularly trying to hide the wire or obscure the microphone or whatever. This is so much easier not being directly connected. And I find the quality of this pretty good. I'm assuming that as a viewer, you can tell the difference between when I'm using this and when I'm speaking open air to the microphone in the phone. I don't tend to use a separate mic when I use the phone. I just let the phone kind of just do its thing and pick up the sound. But I always have this mic connected. And one of the other cool things about this is if I'm shooting myself, right, I'd be shooting with this facing me directionally, or rather when I'm walking around kind of showing stuff like I've done with a lot of the home theater things, I can carry and shoot and look, but I can flip this around so easily. So the mic on that little kind of floating rubbery stand can go either direction with just a really simple like snap in, snap out. So I find that to be be pretty good. Now I'm still trying my best to get the best quality that I can out of that Sony camera. I found I'm still learning a lot about shooting and lighting conditions and that sort of thing. And I've watched a ton of YouTube videos about camera settings and using the auto adjustments versus trying to set things kind of manually. I don't have a lot of photography experience or videography experience, and I'm sure you can see that historically through a variety of the videos that have been on the channel. So I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to learn more, but these cameras have a lot more power than I've at least harnessed so far. And the other thing I'll say though about the Sony camera is it's fairly disappointing actually a lot of the times. I find the battery just goes like, it just drains like crazy and it overheats. So if I want to make even like getting into maybe 15, 20, 25 minutes of recording, which I could very easily do if I come down to spin out some longer videos or a variety of shots and stuff, is the camera will start overheating. And then when it overheats, it gives you a warning. Eventually it shuts down. The battery drains so fast. So you have to like let the thing cool off, and you have to charge it up so much that you really have to kind of plan your content creation and your recording around the camera. And when I did my research, I saw that noted for other similar models like Canons and such. I didn't really see that noted so much for this Sony in particular. I don't know if I just got a bad one or whatnot, but it's a pain. And so sometimes, and you might have noticed in some videos, I might be using this camera and it'll have a certain look, and then yeah, it blew out on me, the battery just tanked, or I got to the point of overheating and I just switched to my phone to kind of like finish a video or finish some shots. So something to think about. It's kind of confusing how like these companies make these cameras for vlogging specifically and for like live streaming and broadcasting, assuming that somebody might be running them for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour or more, and they can't stay in operation that long. They get too hot. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I bought it. I think this camera was on the order of like $800 when I picked it up. There is a new model. I don't know how much better or worse the new model is. So hopefully that might be something Sony did improve on from model to model. So in terms of shooting, I try to record everything I do in 4K, 30 FPS, and I don't use HDR. I record in standard dynamic range. I use Camtasia for all my editing. I was introduced into some instructional getting started using Camtasia for some other things, and since I kind of knew how to use it a bit, I just continued using it for the YouTube channel. I think it's pretty well priced for what it does and provides a lot of flexibility. I've gotten better with it over time. I do use it on a MacBook as well. I will say that Camtasia to me runs a lot better on a Mac than it did on Windows. Earlier on, I was doing a lot of editing and things on Windows, and it would really struggle. It would really chug and such, but the Macs that I've tried this on, particularly my MacBook Pro, 16-inch M1 Pro, is awesome. This thing never hiccups while editing. It renders video like very, very, very quickly. And for what I've done on the channel so far, I found Camtasia to kind of be enough. It's got a nice timeline view. You can mix things in. It has all the a variety of different types of effects and text overlays, and I do all of my screen recordings through Camtasia as well. So that's quite nice. And I think it works for me. Now, it doesn't have advanced like color correction. It's not like Final Cut and some of the other Adobe Premiere or whatever. And maybe someday I'll get into those types of programs to do my editing and really get more advanced. But as I've been learning, I'm still not even harnessing, I think, the full power of Camtasia. And so I've got a little bit of a road ahead before I really try to get into a next level of capability, video editing software. So a couple other, key things that I use to help produce and create the content and such for the YouTube channel. One of them is a site called Canva. And I don't remember how I found it. I think I was referred to it like looking up recommendations and such for other creators. But Canva is basically an online video and image kind of repository. And so it's paid, of course. You can pay monthly, you can pay yearly, whatever, and join their pro. There's a variety of things that they provide for free. But if you really want access to some of the better assets, you kind of have to pay for the pro. It's like $12.99 if you go monthly. But that's the platform that I basically use to create all my thumbnails. So the image editing, the text, and the so on, in order to make the YouTube video thumbnail and save it out. I do all of that through Canva. The bumpers for the Techthusiasm and the icons and the music and such all came from Canva Pro, and I use the same kind of intro bumper and outro bumper just with and without the music. So I'm finding more value in Canva the more that I try to add to videos and such. So there's like certain pictures and pop-up things, just stuff to make the editing interesting or add a little flair to the videos. Canva has seemed to be pretty good for that. And again, figuring out kind of how to use it more and more. I also just recently bought a couple of assets from another site called Motion Arts Media. So in the more recent videos that I've been making, when you see the like, subscribe, hit the bell kind of pop-ups, I didn't create all of those. I paid on the order of like $16 and bought 24 kind of pre-built animations for that stuff. So the thing you'll find with YouTube is like you can procure a lot of assets very easily versus having kind of to make them all. If you're not a graphic artist and a graphic designer and you just kind of want to get these things, there's other sites out there that I haven't really explored too much where you can get more music, and even like Camtasia has its own type of like subscription or additional asset subscription service in order to get music and images and video snippets and stock photography and all of that to put into your thing. So I'd say I'm really just kind of still scratching the surface on those things. And adding the like, subscribe, notification animations has been kind of a nice thing, I think, to call attention to those actions or call to action right in the videos, and that's worked out. So I'll see over time in the weeks or months ahead what else I end up kind of getting and using in that sense. So that's really it, which is kind of the cool thing about YouTube is like literally you can get started with basically a phone. In terms of the money I spent, I spent more to kind of get this camera, but the better microphone, the tripod stands, some of those online assets to build some of the pieces of your channel, it doesn't really cost that much. Like the startup cost for a YouTube channel, if you grab those types of things, which I would call kind of minimally essential, right? You're in for a couple $100. The camera was obviously more. You can get really, really nice video off of a phone. And honestly, the one of the bigger limitations that I found, just one of the simplest things that I like about recording on the camera versus recording on the phone is the fact that I can flip the camera image out so I can look at it. Although I have this tremendously bad habit of watching myself instead of looking here. So that's the upside and the downside of that. But that's the hard part of filming on a phone is you don't, unless you buy some other thing that lets you additionally see the image, you can't see yourself. So you need somebody to help you, or you have to frame your shot really well that you can set it up and you can walk around and you can be in frame and be the way that you want to be. Because if you're going for like the selfie cam, it's much lower quality in that. But in any case, some basic accessories in a phone and you can really get this stuff started and go a little further along and see if it's something you really like doing before you spend any more money. It was some months later into making videos when I came to the conclusion, okay, yeah, I think I'm really gonna find some legs in this, and it's fun doing it, and I wanna make it better and keep learning and getting better as I go, and went into the camera and some other stuff. So I haven't bought lights yet. So in terms of things that I might kind of look at next is I probably would benefit from some standing lights. I've done a lot of filming in my home theater. It's a dark room. When things get dark, the grain and the fuzziness kind of creeps in. And again, I'm not a cinematographer, and I haven't learned fully how to kind of deal with that. But having some kind of standing lights would probably be one of my next best investments to help out. And I also film a lot with like down lighting, just because naturally the way we built our house, all the lighting's up above, so you get these shadow effects and other things. But I think so far it's been working pretty well, and it's definitely been fun. I've learned so much stuff in conjunction with this. What I can do in terms of video editing now to what I could do 8 months ago or 10 months ago is like night and day. And even from a perspective of just getting in front of the camera and talking, I am so much more comfortable. And for the most part, what I'm talking now is except for maybe bullet points, or I put some thoughts together in my mind to make the sequences, is all unscripted. Early on, I was writing and I was reading and I was doing scripting and stuff. So if you're afraid to do these things, the best words of encouragement I can give you is just do it. Really, just try it. You will get better at it. You will get more comfortable with it, and it's been incredibly fun. And so the knowledge in the skills that just getting started in this YouTube stuff has created for me has been great. In terms of presentation and talking and that, it's helping me do a better job of that in my day job as well. So there's a virtuous cycle of, say, ability and personal development that's kind of come from it, as well as just opening doors, getting connected to people, and all that sort of stuff. It's been really, really fun and rewarding. So if you have questions about, you know, any of the stuff that I've talked about, any more specifics, you know, that ask away in the comments. I'm happy to give my insight or talk about, you know, what I've done along those various lines. If doing something like this is something that you're thinking about. So thanks so much. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification. Look in the description for some ways to support the channel, and I'll make a couple of additional next step videos for this as well. Maybe something a little bit more about kind of how the YouTube structure works and some things that I found in terms of like managing the channel and the tech side of executing YouTube. Some things that I found there that work in such, and then also probably do like a revenue share. I've seen a bunch of other folks sharing, you know, what are you making on YouTube, and it's been enlightening to understand how the monetization works and what exactly the ROI for putting all the time and effort and energy, you know, into this creates. So look for those videos in short order after this one. Thanks so much.